morning, everyone, and welcome back to Grindhouse, where we drink coffee and talk about movies. My name is Leah Diana, and with my co-host and boyfriend, Shawn Tetrault, we will be winding back the reels to 1997. A year after running over a fisherman and dumping his body in the water, four friends reconvene when Julie receives a frightening letter telling her that their crime was seen in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Let's get into it.
So the boy and girl are making out, right? When they hear over the radio that this lunatic killer's escaped from an insane asylum.
That's not the way it goes. The boy goes for help, and the girl stays in the car, and she hears this, scratching sound.
No, he's been decapitated. No, he was gutted with a hook.
What's wrong with you? Watch out!
Oh my God.
You think he's dead?
We can't just leave him here.
Oh, tell me, little Miss Prelaw, what's the charge for manslaughter? We make a pact. Right here and now we take the Sora grave.
For the last year, four friends have kept a secret.
Are you on drugs?
No.
Well, then what is wrong? I've had a rough year.
But not all secrets stay buried.
Somebody sent this to me.
Oh my God. Someone knows.
I know what you did last summer. Ooh.
What they thought would be a new beginning
Toast to us.
is becoming a dead end.
Somebody tried to kill you last night. We have to go to the police.
If he wanted me dead, he could have done it.
And the mistake they made
It was an accident.
There was no accident. It was murder.
What if he's still alive?
Hey!
What are you doing here?
is coming back to haunt them.
Oh my God.
He's after me, too. I got a letter. I got run over. Helen gets her hair chopped off. Julie gets a body in a truck, and you get a letter? That's balanced.
She's waiting for us to unravel.
The wait is over.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
You did last summer.
Spread the word, you dirty cocksuckers. Tell all your grave robbing friends of what the matter of the city now!
The nightmare of insane murder. From the depths of hell.
The angel of death.
The Grindhouse.
Happy 4th of July, Leah.
Happy 4th of July, Shawn.
Or at least that's when you guys will be seeing and hearing this.
For us, it is the day after Christmas. Full disclaimer. Today is our first full day with our new kitten.
Yes, for Christmas, I decided that it was time to get Leah a kitten.
Yes.
And she has been somewhat of a little terror the past day and a half.
But she's a kitten. So if you hear or rolling balls or, things being attacked or hear us go, whoa, she has done something, we will do our best to stay
on track.
Yeah, she's still very little. She's like 6 months. She's still a kitten, so maybe she'll tire herself out and ignore us.
But if we plan to continue this podcast, it's something we're going to have to live with.
Yes. Also, yes, we realized that the last time we mentioned Christmas was about close to 10 episodes prior to this.
Yeah, we decided to do this one kind of completely out of order from what we've been doing because we realized that we had the lineup kind of planned up until around the 4th of July, and we were like, oh, the perfect movie would have been one we already picked for an earlier date.
Yeah.
So we shifted things around a little bit and decided to do this one early.
Yeah, so. Don't take out the cameras, little one.
Oh, man.
You will cry. I will die. I will just... All right.
So today we decided that for 4th of July we wanted to talk about I Know What You Did Last Summer. Why did you pick this one? Because this one was your choice.
This one is my choice. So, full disclaimer, number one, it was the first one I saw on the shelf that is horror that I know from when I was an early tween. This movie came out in 97 and I was about 12, 13, so I was on the cusp of a teenager. So to me it was like, I saw this movie in theaters. I'm badass. Are you badass for seeing this in theaters, Leah? Are you? No.
I wish I could have seen this in theaters.
I mean, you're at that time in 97, you would have been like 9. No, 8. You would have been 8. So like, this is a tough one for a kid to watch. Who am I fucking talking about? Also, I asked his parents about watching movies when he was 3, horror movies when he was 3, and the both of them in unison on Christmas Day. I was like, you too. He was watching horror movies at 3. They went, yup, with that face. Your mom's face was, yup. And then they give him new horror shirts for Christmas.
Oh, yes.
So I wasn't getting anywhere with any fight. It was just like, all right, well, you guys knew what you were doing as parents. It's fine. Anyways.
Obviously they did. I haven't killed anybody yet.
Yeah. And the other reason why I picked this one is this one stands out in my mind a certain way. It has always stood out a certain way. Watching this, my opinion about this movie flipped.
In a good or a bad way?
In a bad way. Not like the I hate this or something. Just the way I viewed it at 12 years old or 12, 13 years old, and the way I'm viewing it now, completely different as an adult. So, I mean, stay on target.
Yes, so throughout this entire episode, we're probably going to be distracted because the cat is running around like a madman.
She's got the zoomies, and you know, anybody who has a cat get the zoomies, that burst of energy that lasts for, I don't know, 6 hours. Boom, 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 boom. She's got that right now, and everything's a fucking toy, even our legs. So,
oh shit.
Yeah, I gotta back this up in case she like attacks my foot again, but it's fine. So, we both have fun facts about this movie.
Yes.
Yes, because you know more about this movie because you're like more of a horror fan. I literally just looked some of these up right now.
Yes, but before we get too ahead of ourselves
Yes.
here, as we said, this is I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yep.
It was directed by Jim Gillespie, off of a screenplay by Kevin Williamson. Now, Kevin Williamson, for those horror fans who don't know, is the guy who brought us Scream.
Oh, I get one of the facts now. Okay, all right, okay.
This is one of those movies that came in the wake of Scream. So
Yes.
that full-blown 90s slasher revival. This was one of the first ones that followed Scream, and it basically set the pace for all the other Valentine and all the other little movies that came after.
My Bloody Valentine. Ugh.
Nope, different.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Different movie. It was based on a novel by Lewis Duncan of the same name.
In 1973.
1973, really?
Yep, based on a book from 1973.
Interesting. And there has since been a remake done in the form of a limited series.
Yes, there was it was in remake hell for a long time for a movie, and then they made the limited series, which I've not heard of the limited series until I looked it up a little while ago.
Nope.
Is she making an appearance?
Get down.
Jesus, folks, she just head planted right into the pole of the camera. That camera probably shook. You have so much editing to do.
So for those actually watching this podcast at home, I get to play with a laser pointer to keep this fucker distracted for a little while we do this.
Oh, God.
Anyway, where were we?
Let's see. So this movie was made on a budget of $17 million, and it grossed $125 million.
125.3.
125.3. I'm sorry, I missed point 3. So this movie was a phenomenal hit in the 90s.
Yes, and I honestly think it owes that to Scream.
Yes.
Like, if Scream hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. Because Kevin Williamson's name was shit before Scream.
And then after Scream, now he's gold. Couple of my favorite facts about the cast from this is Ryan Phillippe would not have been cast as the role of Barry if it was not for his girlfriend, then Reese Witherspoon. She recommended him to the casting director or the director, and that's how he got it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, okay.
I didn't know that he dated Reese Witherspoon.
He was married to her for years, and they have 2 children.
Wow.
Yeah, from Cruel Intentions.
Oh, okay.
The other fun fact that everybody knows, but is my favorite fun fact, is Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar met on this movie, did not date until a few years later, but they met here. They were married in 2002. They have 2 children, and they are still going strong to this day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's one of those Hollywood romances that you don't think would happen.
And it was one of those things where, like, he was with, obviously, if you watch the movie, and we'll talk about it, his character, Ray, is with Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, Julie. And Ryan Phillippe, it's so hard to say his name, in my opinion. Barry is with Sarah Michelle Gellar character, don't tell me, Helen. So it's really kind of cool that they just whoop. And yeah, I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. I adore her, obviously, because I'm a huge Buffy fan.
Yeah, I think also, like, the casting of this movie. I'd like to actually take a little bit of chunk of time here because this cast is phenomenal. This is following Scream. Scream was a absolutely monumental success not right when it came out because they released it around Christmas, but like in the weeks that followed, it gained so much hype and attraction that, like, this made the studios so much money that basically everyone in Hollywood wanted to be in a Kevin Williamson written movie.
Yes.
So, like, when this presented itself, they had their pick of the litter. They were able to take any popular names that they wanted at the time and put them into this movie. So, that gives us, ended up with Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, Freddie Prinze Jr., with small parts for Brigitte Wilson, Johnny Galecki, and
Anne Heche.
Anne Heche. Yep. Holy shit.
Do you know what big name actress who is just coming up rejected a role for this movie? Melissa Joan Hart rejected a part in this movie. Don't know which one. I didn't read too deeply, but she rejected it.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Clarissa Explains It All, rejected this. And honestly,
Helen? That would have been a similar casting.
I don't know. I could see her in Jennifer's part. I really could.
Yeah.
Helen, Helen surprised me this time watching it. Because I will tell you this, I wanted a dude like Barry growing up, and I wanted to be Helen. Further down the line, I will tell you how I feel.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Another fun fact that I really did like about this movie that I read was the author of the book hates the movie. The book is completely different.
From what I've heard, the book is completely different, and the remake actually follows the book closer.
It does. Which I kind of want to see. Now that I've read a little bit more, I was like, oh, I have no plan on this. And then reading that, I went, oh, now I kind of want to watch this.
Yeah, I think the series is something we should
revisit.
Visit. We should visit.
We
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
At some point down the line, because
really sorry.
I'm very interested to see what they did with it this time around.
Yeah.
I All right, I'm gonna go out and state now that I love this movie. I grew up with this movie in the 90s.
Why would you have 2 copies in pristine condition if you didn't love this movie? These are not mine, by the way. These are his.
I've seen it hundreds of times, and I'd never get sick of it. I grew up with 90s slashers. It's amazing.
We're gonna disagree on this movie, folks. This will be the first one.
And you know what? I'm okay with it. But yeah, this cast, I think, is what drew so many people to this movie. Everybody wanted to see Freddie Prinze, who was like the heartthrob at the time.
He was gaining traction. I mean, hot on his heels was probably Josh Hartnett. James, I'm sorry. How I Met Your Mother ruined his name. I have to remember his name. James Vanderbeek. Who, unfortunately, I've always thought of as James Vanderdouche, just because of your mother. Oh, God. I'm so sorry about that. Click with the beer cans. But
you got to think, Freddie Prinze around this time he also had, I think it was She's All That.
Yep. Well, no, that was maybe the next year. Oh, God. Now
Around
I have to
this
say,
time,
yeah.
like within these few years.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to touch too much on that, but
no.
Because that's in our wheelhouse.
It is.
I would like to touch on that because there is a remake called He's All That now.
Oh, what the fuck?
And I watched Katya and Trixie watch that one. It's Two Queens Love to Watch, or it's a Netflix series if anybody knows it. I watched Katya and somebody else touch on it. Oh my God. Yeah, it was rough.
Unwarranted remakes.
I mean, it's a sign of the time kind of remake, but it's not. Let's move on. Just move on.
He had a couple other like big hits around this time, so like a lot of girls would flock to this movie to see him in it. Like you said, Sarah Michelle Gellar was big from Buffy. So, like, all the Buffy fans wanted to see this.
Oh, my God. Everybody. Like, Buffy was one of those movies growing up that I was just like. Not movie. Series. There is a Buffy movie. Don't do it.
Buffy movie came first.
Buffy movie is weird. What was some other movies that he was in? Boys and Girls. That was a huge one from the early 2000s. Wing Commander. Oh, I'm not talking about this. I'm making you watch this. It's based on a video game.
Yeah, I know this.
Oh my god. I forgot about that.
I didn't know he was in it, though.
Yes, he is. The Year of Yes. That's another 90s one he was in. To Jillian on her 37th birthday.
I haven't heard of a lot
Sparkler. Monkey Kings. He's in a lot from the early 90s. Or from the 90s.
That was like his time.
Yeah, he was. I mean, and he has aged very well.
He's still a good-looking dude.
He's a good-looking dude. He's 45 years old, which I think that's not too bad. She's All That was 99.
But I'm going to tell you right now, and Freddie, if you happen to see this ever or hear this.
Yeah, okay.
You can't act worth shit. I love you, man. I love your performances and things, but I don't believe a word that comes out of your mouth.
I believed him in Scooby-Doo. You take that back.
All right, you know what? I'll give you Scooby-Doo. Because you as Fred was perfect. But in this,
I will say now, Jennifer Love Hewitt is good. Sarah Michelle Gellar is very convincing.
Yep.
And Ryan Phillippe is very convincing.
Yeah.
Freddie, I think there's a real reason why they were hesitant on casting him in this role. And it is a fact that they were.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good actor, don't get me wrong. But he's the boy next door, not the boy next door that convinces everybody to kill a man.
See, the thing in this one specifically, like, I especially noticed it when they're, like, talking about Billy Blue in front of him.
Yes.
And, like, you can see immediately it's like, you're hiding something. Like, why aren't you telling them whatever you're hiding?
Yeah, like
come on, buddy.
Maybe when I was like a preteen, I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, but I didn't know any better.
Exactly.
I was too, and all the people that they got to watch this movie back then were my age group.
Yeah.
From like 12 to like 18. You don't know any better at all. You're talking about 4 seniors in high school that are between the age of what? Sometimes 16 if you're advanced and you skip a couple grades, to about 19. Now that I'm 36 watching this, I'm going, y'all a bunch of losers. What is wrong with you? Like, no. His acting was not convincing.
It's not good. And
nothing against him.
No.
This is just not the material that I think he can portray. She's all that, extremely convincing.
Yeah, you know what? I liked him in that.
I love him in that.
And again, like, yeah, I'm not knocking him as an actor in total. In this, he's not convincing at all.
Sometimes actors and actresses pick material that they're like, let me branch out. And they think, yeah, I can do this. But the audience is like, put it down. Just
But you know,
put it down.
I can't even completely blame him because the director, the director saw his performance on camera and said, yeah, I'm good with that. No, like, if he's giving off a performance that's even somewhat wooden, you gotta step in and be like, all right, I need better.
Yeah.
Like, that's your job. So I blame the director for letting it slide.
Yeah. But let's get into the meat of why we're here. Let's talk about the movie.
Where do we begin?
So my first jump off from this is, and I realized that I was right about this jump off, is the helicopter shots of the coastline of this town is beautiful. Nice winding coastline, beautiful. And I went, I lived in North Carolina. This doesn't exist. What are they showing us?
Where does this movie take place?
This movie takes place in
Southport, somewhere.
Southport, North Carolina. It's actually about 90% of this film is filmed in North Carolina. The scenes where they're going around the bends and where they dump and where they hit the killer, or we know that this guy's gonna go after him. So I'm not spoiling anything at that point.
Yeah.
And then the shots of the helicopter were filmed in California because, and I read that the director thought that the North Carolina coastline was too boring. So for the one scene where they're going around the bend and hit him, and where they're doing that filming, was filmed in California. The rest they flew back to North Carolina to film.
Okay, I mean, I can understand.
It's a fantasy kind of thing, so
Yes.
it's fine. But I'm just like, this is boring? All right, okay.
I can understand the choice because in the director's head, he probably had this vision of like the rocky seaside, cliffy area. And
so
you know
why
what?
wouldn't you just pick New England? We have a lot. We have Cliff Walk right down in Newport that looks exactly like what he was going for.
Maybe the book is set in North Carolina, so they just
I
wanted
didn't-
to stay somewhat faithful.
Yeah, I didn't read into the book other than like the rough plot synopsis.
Yeah.
So it is 100% possible that that's true.
Yeah, and before we really dive into like step by step or anything like that, as I somewhat mentioned before, like this is one of those quintessential 90s movies.
Yep.
Like if you grew up in the 90s, you saw this movie. And I think most horror fans today have seen it. Maybe a few haven't, but when I think of the 90s, this is one of the things that comes to mind. This, Scream, like obviously it's a lot of horror because that's what I watched, but
You think of horror, but I think of like the 90s rom-coms, like She's All That, Josie and the Pussycat Dolls. I don't remember if this was in the 90s, but Just Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore.
yeah, Never Been Kissed.
Never Been Kissed. Never Been Kissed. I think that's the cusp.
You know what else I think of?
What?
Spice Girls.
He's gonna hate me when I pick it.
My sister watched that growing up.
I loved Spice Girls. Loved it. Love.
And from what I hear, it's a funny movie to watch now.
It's a fun romp, mainly because if our audience has watched Loki, classic Loki is their manager in that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So when I watched Loki, I was like, why do I recognize this dude? And all I kept hearing was the word schedule in my head. We have to be on schedule. I'm like, why is this in my head when I look at him? Saw his filmography, Spice World, whoom, right back. I went, oh God, we got to do this for a podcast. Oh God, it's going to be great. Side note, she has tuckered herself out. And she is now passed out.
Thank God.
Thank God.
And before we completely get off the cast, I'd like to also mention a couple of things. One, Jennifer Love Hewitt. At this time, I don't think she was as huge as she became.
She blows up after this.
But you could see why everybody flocked to her.
She was the quintessential girl next door.
Yes.
She and all the others that fit into that category. Everybody wanted that girl next door. And she definitely was it in the 90s.
She was. I don't quite understand how she gained the moniker of Jennifer Love Huge Tits.
I love her moniker because they downplay it. You see the sweaters that she wears, they very much downplay the size of her chest. Have you ever seen Ghost Whisperer?
No, I've
That's
never
the
watched
series that she did in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Her boobs are huge. I mean, I wouldn't say Soleil Moon Frye size boobs after she hit puberty after Punky Brewster, but she was a big. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the other girls don't have these huge chests.
No.
Even Sarah Michelle Gellar, beautiful girl. I would love to look like her. Not like that huge.
I think the only scene that really amplifies her chest in this at all is that very ending sequence, the
when she's
shower
in the tank.
scene.
Oh, in the shower. Yeah, in the shower scene you can see it, but everything else, to me, the way they dressed her, the way they dressed her very well, because you're not looking at her chest, you're looking at her acting, which I think is a great thing. These girls back then were, oh my God, look at her looks. All these women were emphasized for their looks, for their body type. Jennifer Love Hewitt had curves.
Yes.
She has breasts, she has a tiny waist, she has hips. She's built like that. Then you look at Sarah Michelle Gellar. She was very, very beautiful, but very kind of straight. She has little curves. That's why she was the girl next door. She was the Topanga Lawrence. Same thing. Topanga was busty and curvy and beautiful. I see in the 90s why, when I started to get chubby, people would be looking up to them because they were beautiful. Now cut to look at what the ideal woman looks like now. It's Beyonce.
Ugh.
I like the way Beyonce looks. I don't want to look like that.
No.
Even my sister has that same look. That very top-heavy, curvy, and then thick when you get to the hips and the thighs.
Yeah, I don't really get that mentality personally.
I know. I'm chubby, so got a lot to love. Oh, we went somewhere weird. We're going back.
Well,
back.
Yeah, I also want to say that we get Johnny Galecki in this movie. Very small part.
Oh my God, he's so cute in this movie.
Now, most people are gonna know Johnny Galecki as Leonard in Big Bang Theory,
or and Roseanne.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my
David.
God. David from Roseanne.
That's where I first got introduced to him.
That's where I did too, but everybody knows him as Leonard Hofstadter.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this, I think it's really fun to see him play this more confident, tough guy.
Confident, pushy.
Yeah.
Very pushy. All the dudes in this movie are douchebags. Saying it now. Calling it now.
Yeah.
Barry is a huge douchebag. Max has a douchey kind of push to him. And I'm sorry, but even Ray's character is kind of a douche.
Yes, because Ray, they even say it in the movie, Ray is somebody who,
he comes from nothing. He has no money. He's trying to make something of himself.
He doesn't belong in the friend group. He's in the friend group because he's dating Julie, essentially. And so he's like kind of taking on this like bravado that he doesn't actually have, which is not really evident in his performance, but I guess you can see that it's there.
His performance is still very confident dude when I don't think that character should have had very much confidence for it.
No.
I think that should have been played a lot more meek, a lot more like he caved really quick in the beginning when they were all like, let's just dump the body and go. But his character, I feel, should have been like, well, like trying harder to be more like, no, he got persuaded way too fast. His performance was too quick, in my opinion.
I think I can understand where he came from when he like kind of gives into everything, but I think we'll talk about that as we go through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we want to start kind of going through this?
All right. So after the nice helicopter shots, we are introduced to a gentleman in coveralls, sitting on the edge of like a cliff, drinking and holding a necklace. We don't have much context for this. That's all we get. The next scenes we get is being introduced to the four kids. Sarah's character Helen is crowned Miss Croaker Queen of this little town. To celebrate, because they're all excited, all four of them go down to. You just awed at the cat, didn't you? Yeah. Oh, she's fucking stinking cute. We're gonna have to put like a little picture here of her, like lounging, just so people can see. So Sarah Michelle's character, Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'm sorry, I'm gonna call her Sarah Jessica Parker at least once, because the freaking revival of Sex in the City is on, and I keep making a switch of their names every fucking time. Don't have three names. It's killing me. Sarah Michelle Gellar's character is named Helen, and she wins Miss Croaker Queen. So to celebrate, the four of them go down to Dawson's Creek. There's a reference to Dawson's Creek in this. They mention,
Are you serious?
Yes, we're going to go down to Dawson's Creek Beach or something like that. And it's written in a fun fact that
it was Dawson. It had to be Dawson's Beach.
No, it was Dawson's Creek something. It was a reference directly to Dawson's Creek.
Oh my God.
I mean, that was big at the time.
Yeah.
Where all the other stars, like Tom Cruise's ex-wife and James Vanderdush is from. And,
yes.
Oh God, who was the short little shit? He was in The Faculty too. Or am I thinking of Elijah Wood?
I think you're thinking of Elijah Wood.
I am thinking of Elijah Wood. Shit. Joshua something. Joshua.
Couldn't
Not
tell you.
Harnett. Joshua, I will find you. I will take in this bitch. So they go down to the beach and they're celebrating by getting drunk and telling a ghost story or an urban legend about the man with the hook.
Yes.
And the four of them fight about what story is really the right one.
Yes, and I actually want to stop for a second and kind of talk a little bit about this. Like, up until this point, for whatever reason, movies didn't really cover urban legends. Like, that came in the 90s. Primarily. There were some, I'm sure.
I.e. urban legend?
Yeah, urban legend came after this.
Yep.
But this was, for those who don't know, there's the legend of the Hook Man. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this legend, but I would like to briefly tell it to you.
Turn down the lights and enjoy a story.
This urban legend began circulating widely in the 1950s. There have been many variations, like they talk about in this movie, but the basic story is always the same. It begins with a teenage boy takes an unsuspecting date out to Lover's Lane for like a little impromptu makeout session. While there, they hear a report of a murderer that has escaped from a nearby insane asylum over like the radio. And the newscaster says that everyone should be on the lookout for this crazy guy who has a hook in place of his right hand. The girl starts to get scared, especially when they start to hear strange scratching sounds coming from outside the car. But the guy insists that everything's fine and tries to continue making out, and the girl resists, and eventually he gives up and brings her home. When they arrive back to the girl's house, the girl exits the car and begins screaming hysterically. And then when her date exits the car, he sees that there's a bloody detached hook either embedded in the car roof, or it's like hanging from the car door handle. And then they realize that the hook man would have come into the car and killed them both. Like, that's the basic gist.
And do you know why this urban legend exists?
Why don't you tell me?
It is stated in the movie why this urban legend exists. It was an urban legend created, like, not fact, but rumor is it was an urban legend created so young girls in the 50s would not have premarital sex. It was to scare them into thinking that if they go to Lover's Lane or Make Out Point and do the hanky-panky, something bad might happen to them. So it was like a thing that girls kept in the back of their heads, or would scare them to go, oh no, I have to go home to my parents.
Yes.
Yes.
And I completely get why this was done.
I get it.
I've always thought pairing this story with like the 4th of July theme and the slasher genre was perfect.
It's perfect because it harkens, and it's weird. It brings me to the 1950s in Back to the Future. Like, that's the exact type of scenario or the exact type of world that I would think this would be. This would totally scare Marty McFly's mom.
Yeah.
Be like, oh no, oh, you can't kiss. I gotta go home. Like, no, this, I can see why.
And if you recall, she was up for it.
Oh, she was offering herself to her son big time. Wow. Can't wait to get to those movies. So yeah, I love urban legends because yes, they could come from a place of some sort of truth, but it's always a nugget of truth that, or I would say a seed of truth that sprouts some sort of urban legend to like prevent something, or like there's some truth to it, but there are many branches to an urban legend.
Yes. And I think the urban legend aspect of this movie is something that it's one of the elements that like made this movie so not popular, but like
intriguing.
Intriguing. Like, and it's no surprise that like this film is one of the ones that like spawned countless imitators. And
yes.
Like, look at this movie and then look at some of the stuff that followed. Like, you have horror movie that brings together a bunch of popular names and familiar faces to tell like a scary story of some kind. There's dozens.
After Scream, I would say Scream probably was the first one to do it. This is a good follow-up to Scream. It really is.
It really is.
But Scream's the one that did it. And how many other movies from Scream till now, including the other Screams, have the same formula made up of it?
Exact same formula.
Exact same. A bunch of friends, a really scary scenario, some bad shit happens, there's a mystery to solve. Like, it's the same formula.
It's also been spoofed more times than I can count.
Even in porn.
Doesn't I Know What You Did Last Summer porn?
Think of anything, there is a porn of it. I'm
God.
not kidding you. The internet is vast and scary.
I Know Who You Dicked Last Summer.
I know. I know why your fingers smell that.
Oh.
Oh, I can think of something my brother said at Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, like, this was one of the major films that was spoofed in the first Scary Movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one.
Scary Movie.
Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th. It's another heavy.
Really?
Yeah, that one.
Shriek If You Know What I Did last. Hey, we're gonna put some names in a hat. Pick it. Like, you just
That one's a lot of fun, and it's in our wheelhouse, so we might cover it
Oh,
at some
Christ. That's awesome.
point.
So, going back to the story, we see that, Helen and Barry get freaky in front of a campfire. And then we see that Ray and Julie have sex for the first time on the beach.
Yes. And I think that was interesting for this film. Like, it immediately goes against the conventions by having Julie lose her V card right there at the beginning.
Yes, and I think that's what makes this movie different, because it doesn't follow the horror formula. Virgins survive.
But it also makes sense because this just followed Scream, which literally broke all the rules.
Every single rule.
So this one's like, guess what? Right at the beginning, we're breaking the rule.
Yep.
It's keep in tow.
It's broken the rule, and I also believe that with Scream and this movie, it is also reinvented what a Scream Queen is. Scream Queens were virginal, pure-looking girls that went against the bad guy and survived. These new girls that came across were normal, everyday girls. Doesn't matter if you got a V card or if you don't got a V card. That were strong characters that displayed actual problems. In this movie, you slowly see that she has a real problem that develops from what happens to them. In Scream, Nev Campbell's character has real problems. Sydney. I always forget her name. Sydney. There were actual, issues. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to have fun. Oh, Dad, we're going to run from the bad guy. No, it was actual, they go from these first scenes where you see all of them look bright and happy and wonderful teenagers. A little bit of a drinking problem with one of them, some attitude problem, but those are teenagers. To real problems. It wasn't just cookie cutter, my life is great, oh my God, there's a killer, gotta run away. I'm not saying anything against these 70s or 80s slasher girls, but it reinvented what the definition of a Scream Queen in the 90s is. Which is really cool, because now you have these movies that are becoming even more rule-breaking and reinventing them in this era. Name me a Scream Queen in this era that is exactly like Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween.
In the 90s?
No, today.
Oh, today. There's none.
Even Jamie Lee Curtis's role as Laurie Strode in those movies now is hard ass. I've been through shit. You're not fucking with me now. It's very different. It's a very, very different, but it's also a different kind of movie. I understand.
Strode.
Whatever.
I only correct you because in another video I remember you saying strobe.
I say strobe every time.
Strode.
What? Are you censoring me? Yeah, I know. I'm a worthless piece of shit. I know, sweetie. But all right. So the teens are all like, okay, we're done having sex. Let's go home. And Ryan Phillippe's character is Barry. Barry gets real drunk. I mean, fucking hammered.
Belligerently.
Blitz. He's fucking done. He's in the back seat. And I'm very happy that they decided to be like, give me the keys, no drinking and driving. Very happy that they did that, because that was kind of a real problem happening in our generation going to, in the 90s and the early 2000s with, teenagers.
Yeah.
Drinking and driving was one of the biggest killers of our generation back then, because everybody wanted to drink and wanted to have fun with their friends. But I remember every prom season, there was a drunk driver car in the parking lot near prom to show you this is what happens when you drink and drive. I was terrified of driving.
Well, not for this movie in and of itself is essentially the essence of your classic morality tale.
Yes.
How drinking and driving can lead to unimaginable consequences. This being an extreme case.
They say it right when the kids are driving down. They're acting Barry's acting like an idiot. He drops the bottle in the car. The bottle goes everywhere. They're not paying attention driving. They hit the guy. At that point, the only things they can think about are, one, themselves, and two, their futures. because even Ray says it. This would be manslaughter. It doesn't matter who was in the car. We're all going to fry for it, because not only would he go down for manslaughter, it would be whatever they do. At that point, they're all accessories to a murder. Hi. Let me build a bridge.
Yes, and I actually always I somewhat like that moment, like the hit and run.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're witnessing them realize, like, oh, they fucked up.
No.
Like, they fucked up real bad. They're dealing with a situation that none of them ever could have predicted that they would be in.
Yep.
And
they even mentioned one of them has a scholarship.
Yeah.
The other one's a football. Like one's going to be an actress. The other one's trying to get out of the town to change his life. Like they all have these
so
big
much
dreams.
to lose.
Yes.
And I've always liked Freddie Prinze in this scene specifically, because he even says, like, I'm not like the rest of you.
I'm not a rich asshole who can get away with this.
I don't have family that can get me out of this. Like, I'm fucked.
Like, and he was the one driving, even though it was Barry's car, even though the alcohol's on Barry, the whole car smells like alcohol. They're going to get nailed for underage drinking. Barry's going to get nailed for driving while intoxicated. They're definitely going to get nailed with hitting somebody, whether or not that person was dead or not.
No.
It was either vehicular manslaughter, vehicular homicide, or attempt to endanger people. Like, this is legally, I would love to know what all the charges against these kids would have been.
And out of all these people, Julie would know that.
Yeah, she was going to school to be a lawyer.
Exactly.
And she's the one with the best morals, but she lets them push her around.
Yes.
Honestly, if I were Julie, I would have walked away. I would have literally been like, fine. I would have walked away. I would have walked right into a police station and said, I love these people. They're my best friends, but here you go. If somebody's screaming at you 2 inches from your face, telling you to shut the fuck up or I'll kill you about this, they're not your friends. I'm sorry.
No, they're not.
They're not. Now, that doesn't account for some of my best friends. I will hide a body with them. Just saying.
I'll kill somebody. Yeah. This is obviously, like, this is one of the better scenes in the movie. It's the scene that kind of gets everything going.
It is powerful. Just the way you see Barry going from a dumb, drunken jock to a fucking psychopath. And he never stops.
Yeah, Barry in this movie, like, Ryan Phillippe plays this character with a lot of intensity. He's your average meathead jock type character who's, like, he definitely has an anger issue, a drinking problem. And he goes full in on it. I don't know what kind of an actor Ryan Phillippe is specifically. I don't know if he does method or
I don't know
what it is, but he's convincing.
From this scene here, from this scene in this movie, and then you flip over to Cruel Intentions and what Ryan Phillippe's character is in Cruel Intentions, it's very different levels of methodical acting, in my opinion. Because he actually has to channel somebody with real fucking anger issues here. But in Cruel Intentions, he has to be calculated and cold and specific. Now, I don't remember any other movies besides these two of this guy's. But I knew that I really liked this guy's acting in these movies.
He shows up in quite a few things. I can't specifically state what things, but I know I've seen him in other stuff throughout the years. He's not a big name. He was
back then.
For a little while.
I'm telling you, this man is hot. He is hot, and I thought he was hot when I was a kid. But now, I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe he was just one of the heartthrobs of the 90s. Also, the person I was referring to from Dawson's Creek was Joshua Jackson.
Oh, that's who you were talking about?
That's who I was thinking about. Yeah, he was in Dawson's Creek. Yeah.
He's also an urban legend.
That's it. You're getting in my way, and I'm tired of your shit.
You gotta stop hitting the mic.
I know. I'm gonna raise this a little. That might be better. Can you guys still hear me? Anyways, so at this scene, we're seeing them all screaming, yelling, squabbling. Even Helen goes from cute little blonde girl next door to hide the body. what? It's showing about what teenagers really don't understand about consequences.
Yes.
Like teenagers, and I have to say this, teenagers, doesn't matter when you were a teenager, if you are a teenager, if you were anything. Teenagers don't understand the difference between right and wrong. They don't.
No,
They're
they
still
don't.
learning. Teenagers don't think they have any consequences until they do something bad and are facing actual consequences. And that's when you realize as an adult that you as a teen was a fucking dumbass and you want to go back in time and slap yourself. Specifically myself, I will kill you. You were dumb. But anyways. After this, we see them bickering and Johnny Galecki's character, Max, shows up. Now,
Just happens to be
driving down the road. Now, I will say, for this viewing of it as an adult, watching it for the first time in years, this movie, plot point, is handled very well. All the plot, the specific points that they hit, perfect. Oh, Johnny's character just suddenly shows up. Oh, this suddenly happens. It makes sense. It's well written, and I think that's why this gentleman, I can't remember his name, Kevin Williamson, that's why they wanted to be in his movies. The plot points written in this movie are great.
So, Kevin Williamson, it's very easy to see why people want to be in his movies and why like Scream was such a big hit and everything. The man he knows how to craft a screenplay. Yep. He knows how to develop a plot intricately and weave the threads together in a way that will keep an audience engaged.
Yes.
He also writes dialogue that is very topical and referential and interesting.
Even if he doesn't realize that it's topical and interesting for future generations.
Yeah.
This is a topic, and this whole movie is a topic that can be referenced for years to come. If you do something bad, you need to face the consequence. That's the whole point of this movie. If you do something bad or something wrong, face your consequences, or they will eventually catch up to you.
I somewhat feel like that's why he chose to do this one, was because he's continuing on his trajectory of Scream, where it's like, oh, like that quippy modern dialogue that he's good at, but it also allowed him to play with It also allowed him to play with a very popular and iconic type of morality tale that like everybody knows, but he got to put his own spin on it.
Yeah.
Like, I would have wanted to do the same thing.
And this is off the heels of Scream, where you would think, oh, the guy that wrote Scream would write the same thing. No. They are two very different type of horror movies.
They really are.
Like, you would think that the person that would write it would accidentally and unfortunately write the same type of dialogue, the same type of quips, the same type of comedy, even the same type of plot points. I can't find a similarity in plot and story between the two of these, other than they're horror. That's it. This one I wouldn't even classify as an actual like scary horror. This is a thriller horror.
Yeah, this is more of like a
It's a crime story.
Thriller.
Crime story.
But it's still a slasher film.
Yes.
That's really the similarity. They're both slasher films.
Is it slasher because the maneuver to kill people is this?
Slasher is just wherever you have a serial killer going after a group of teens.
I didn't know if it was like an actual like the noise. I thought slasher was like it had to be the noise in the
that's
movie.
Just what they were
That
called.
kind of sounds stupid now that I'm saying it out loud, but whatever. So now
what they dubbed them.
One of my favorite insults, because there's a lot of insults that get thrown around in this fucking movie. A lot. Is shit smear.
Shit smear.
Shit smear is a good insult, and I will be using that in future references.
Nobody drives my car but me. You got that shit smear.
I think all the consequences that the kids were talking about in the beginning of this movie, where like, oh, this is going to happen. But I do believe that if these teenagers called the cops and told them the truth, things wouldn't have been as bad as they keep saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have faced consequences.
But
I don't think it would have been anywhere as near as, like, your fucking life is over.
Well, especially since it's a small town.
It's a small town. Yeah. Like, and then, like, there's a story going on behind the story. So, they would have actually solved another issue if they would have called the cops.
Yes.
So, they might not have even gotten into any trouble for this. But we'll get to that part more towards the end. So, as of this point, they've decided that they're going to dump the body. So
yeah.
One, they hit the person. There's blood all over the car. There's blood all over Barry. There's blood all over Barry's clothes. There's probably DNA on the car. The car's whatever on the body. Modern forensics, if it was a bigger place and not a small town, they would have gotten caught. No question about it. They decide to put the body in the trunk of a brand new car that belonged to his parents and take it down somewhere where it says do not enter on a dock and dump it.
So there's really a number of things wrong with this sequence.
Yeah.
Other than just, the morality of it all. First and foremost, there's a moment where Julie says, like, oh, should we check his wallet? Like, just to kind of see who he is. Just to know. And they're like, what? No, why? Like, they think it's stupid. And then Barry is like, Ray, come on, help me do this. And all of a sudden, like, Ray's like, I don't think I can do it. And I feel like it's one of the worst parts of Freddie Prinze's performance.
Yeah.
Because it's
not convincing.
No.
It is not convincing at all that all of a life's going to be over, let's do this too. I don't think I can do it. Like, that should have been different. That should have been flipped.
Yes.
I think those two.
So right before he says that he can't do it, you actually see Jennifer Love Hewitt kind of grab his arm, no, don't help him. And I think that was supposed to play better than it did.
Yeah.
Like, she grabs his arm and then he's like, I don't think I can, Ray. Like, I think if he had sold that better, it would have worked.
I feel like maybe there's a scene missing.
I don't know if there's a scene missing.
Or a sidebar or a comment or something is a line. Something feels like it should have been there. Like when she grabs his arm and goes, like, says something.
Honestly, even if they had just done a close-up of her grabbing his arm, maybe that would have sold that moment a little better.
Yeah.
I don't know. It did just feel like
it didn't feel
work.
Right, yeah.
The other thing about this was the fact that they dump him in the water and he immediately sinks and stays to the bottom.
He fucking Jasons this. Like, he's like...
It's
and then he opens his eyes.
Like, that's not what when you throw a body in the water, it floats.
It does. It floats for a bit. And what they said, if we dump the body in the ocean, the tide will take it out, or the current will take it out.
Which is true. The undertow would grab it and pull it out.
If you were, like, dumping it at a beach and then letting the undertow take it, they dropped it at a dock.
Yeah, in still waters. Logistically, I know you're not supposed to think about these things, but it's hard not to when you know too much.
This movie is about 20-something years old. We're thinking now. We're thinking. We have thoughts now and plot holes. The other thing was when they're leaving the dock, after they dump the body, he grabs the tiara. Barry jumps in there to get the tiara and watches him open his eyes. He doesn't tell anybody that he watches the dude open his eyes.
Yeah, he doesn't fucking say anything.
He doesn't say anything. They know that, he might be still alive because he grabbed the tiara. He could have been like that last-ditch effort and then he was dying. He fully opened his eyes and fucking looked at Barry in the pupils. And, like, you wouldn't be like, guys, he opened his eyes. At that point, I would have been like, motherfucker, come here. Boom! Gone. Problem solved. Like, really?
Yeah, I don't know that. Like, why wouldn't he say anything? You
should have said something. Like, he opened his eyes under the water and looked at me. He was still alive fully. At that point, wouldn't you think, oh shit, maybe we just dumped a fully fledged living human being in there?
Yeah.
Which I don't blame this dude for coming after them then.
No.
Like, the fuck? Also, there was a moment that I finally caught now, and I put 2 and 2 together, is they don't focus on the object that was dropped in front of the fence.
No, they don't.
They don't focus on that at all, which ties a lot of the plot together. Which for me, when I was younger, I didn't understand what was happening, and I didn't get why 2 and 2 didn't make 4 back then. Now I was like, that's what was dropped.
Yeah, they do show you, like, so they dump the body, he gets the tiara back,
when they're leaving, there's an object on the ground.
Yeah, he makes them all swear the pact.
The death
which
pact,
is,
yeah.
like, no matter what happens, we never speak of this again, we take it to our graves.
Yep.
Some are forced to take this pact. But
yeah.
As they're leaving, we see something shiny was dropped by
or
the entrance.
was there.
Was there.
What I think the director and the film... I'm bad with cast and crew and shit. Whoever was making the plot points, that one scene, when you draw out your scenes about what's supposed to be shot, whoever was shooting that should have showed the dropping, not just the random silver object on the ground.
Right.
Should have shown the dropping of the object to put 2 and 2 together even more better for the audience is already supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah.
At one point, before the characters even figure out what's going on, you're supposed to be like, oh shit. You don't get that till the very end. One of the last scenes, that's when you go, oh. You don't put 2 and 2 together.
Honestly, if they'd even just done a closer shot of that object.
Of that object.
You would have been like, oh.
This plot is even bigger than you think.
Yeah.
But for me, first several times I watched this, until that moment, until right then when I just watched this, didn't realize it.
Yeah.
That's terrible. It took 20 years to see that and be like, you were supposed to know that the whole fucking time?
Yeah, you're supposed to realize what it was that they were showing you.
No idea what they were showing me. I thought it was the beer bottle or the booze bottle on the ground.
That's
the power of Blu-ray, kids.
We leave the dock and we jump ahead in time 1 year.
1 year. Exactly. Boom, 1 year.
We find Julie at college. By the way, this movie is littered with fucking popular 90s music of the time.
I want the soundtrack so fucking bad. Not on vinyl because it's $75.
Well, now.
But I will be buying the CD for this.
But we find Julie at college, and she looks like
She looks like hell. She looks like a recovering drug addict, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, they do a lot to try and make all of these characters look like they've been through the worst year of their lives.
Yep.
And I think that was a good choice, because you get to kind of see
what this secret does to them.
Yeah, what toll this is taking on them. And we see Julie. She's dressed in darker clothes. Her hair is like kind of flatter.
It's grungy. She looks grungy.
A little grungy. We actually meet her friend. We never get a name for this friend. She's just
I would like to think that this friend is what Brandy's character in the second movie is supposed to be.
I made note of that. I was like, I don't know for sure if this is supposed to be Carla. Carla's her best friend in the second movie, which we may get to at some point because it is in the wheelhouse.
It is 99. It is in the wheelhouse, yep.
But, is it supposed to be the same character played by a different actress? I don't know.
I don't care if it is or isn't. I would like to think that Carla was there for her worst year and for her best year.
That could be pretty cool.
I feel like this. I've already solidified in my mind after watching this. That's Carla, because Carla's like, girl, get your pasty ass back to North Carolina, get a tan,
and then
kind of look better.
Yeah, Carla in the next movie talks like that, and then in this movie, this girl says something similar.
Yes.
I'd like to think it's the same person. Supposed to be the same person.
Oh, is that why there's like a Carla in a fucking Scary Movie like that? With that attitude and that badass kind of...
It might be.
Oh, dude. I love Scary Movie. So good. So stupid. So good. She comes home and she went to school on a scholarship for law school, and she comes home and we find out from the mother that she left. She hasn't talked to her. She hasn't called. She hasn't done anything. She's on academic probation. Her scores are in the tube. She's not doing good. Yeah. Mentally, physically, she looks like crap.
There's a passing moment. Literally, it is. I've never noticed it until this viewing. Mm-hmm. Her mom says, like, literally as she's walking out of frame at one point, "Oh, your father must be turning over in his grave."
I didn't know her dad was dead.
Her dad's dead.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. And and she's always looked at the pictures, and she's always kind of like...
I thought we just didn't see him.
Yeah, he's not there. It's a fishing village. I figured they're all fishermen. He was out on a trip. That's why he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But that line should have been emphasized in person rather than behind. Like, I never knew that. That's where this sells it a little more home, in my opinion. Like, oh, maybe it's the worst year of her life because her dad's gone too. So it's not like she can tell her dad, like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And, like, that sells the whole, like, it sounds silly, but it sells the whole, like, daddy's girl thing. Yeah. Like, oh, my dad will always save me. My daddy always be there. Not always, but, it kind of sells that whole image of, like, the parents, that dynamic from the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
I wish I would have known her father was dead years ago. Didn't know it.
Yeah,
Again.
It adds a small thing to her character.
Again, there's another problem I have with this movie. That even though I think the storyline plot-wise is great, it leaves silly little holes. There's silly little holes.
Yeah.
There's silly little, tiny little punctures that they're like, no, skim over that. They're not going to notice.
Right.
We're noticed now. We know it. We've analyzed. We're seeing. Open eyes.
But this is the scene where she gets the note.
Yes.
And this is one of my favorite elements of this movie, is the implementation of, like, you receive this mysterious note that is telling you that, like, your darkest secret is not a secret.
I know what you did
last summer. And to me, the arrival of this note, it marks the beginning of Julie's worst nightmares coming true. I've always loved this element. It's been fucking utilized in so many things since, for good reason. It works. It's a really cool trope.
Yes. From there, she goes to find Helen. Well, she goes to find the Shivers department store or whatever it is, to find her sister, to be like, oh, I need to get in contact with Helen. What's her number? And the worst dig is her sister going, oh, she doesn't have a New York number. You can find her 4 feet away with the women's perfume. I want to know more information on why this sister. Now, you can see Helen to her sister. She doesn't hate her. But the sister to Helen fucking hates her. And I want to know more about what happened between them.
So, yeah, we never go heavily into the backstory of any character in this movie. You're kind of left to make it up on your own. And the way I always saw it is like, so her sister, whose name is Elsa.
Elsa, yep.
Her sister, I assume, can't stand Helen because she was the one that got everything. Well, like, I think Elsa's the older sister.
Yeah, she is.
So she's the one that was like, oh, you're going to run the family business. You're going to take over for the responsibility. And the younger sister got to be the beauty queen, and everything got handed to her kind of thing. So I think there's like a lot of sibling animosity there.
Okay.
That's how I see it. I don't know if that's the intention.
I don't know. I just would have liked a side quip or something of her sister, like, oh, she's jealous of, or we had a bad fight, or, because my mother passed away, or something, or anything. Because you never see a mom, you see a dad.
Yeah.
For the Shivers family. Fun fact, it's not Shivers in the book, it's Rivers.
They changed it to Shivers?
They changed it to Shivers.
Interesting.
And I have a little theory, because this movie's supposed to be scary.
Yeah.
And it's a fishing ocean town, so Rivers might have been weird. I think Shivers sounds better, because it's supposed to be, like, spine-chilling.
All right.
I don't know. Or it's a foreshadowing as to where Helen ends up.
Okay.
That's my theory.
That's an interesting.
But I think it's interesting.
Idea.
From there, she shows Helen like the note and says what's happening, and then they go find Barry at home in his seaside mansion or whatever it is.
He's the rich boy.
And there's a lot more telling in this scene than the other girls. In this scene, like, he's outside, he's drinking, he's got a wife beater on, he's violent, he's angry, and his mom's just on the phone inside doing this. Like, with her finger in her ear, blocking him out. Like, that tells me more than any of the other information we've gotten from the girls.
Right.
That his parents just don't give a shit about what he does. Do what you want, whatever, have
just
fun.
Don't make us look
just,
bad.
Yeah, just don't do anything stupid. That right there, just that one scene where the mom is holding the Dookie 90s phone with the cord, I love it, with her finger in her ear, is like, that tells me more about their family dynamic than we've learned from these two girls.
Yeah.
And it's like, we need more of this. Even Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, Ray, we get so much more information from like 3 lines in the beginning of this. I'm not wealthy. I don't have a family to save me. We know his dynamic. We know Barry's dynamic. Why don't we know more about the girls? There's plot holes in this one that I'm not enraged. I'm not mad. They're aggravating.
You even learn a lot more about Ray.
Yeah. You learn a lot more about Ray.
The fact that he never knew his dad. That his dad
all you knew, my dad was a fisherman. That's all you knew. You'll find that out in the next scene when they go to find Ray.
You learn that he's poor.
Yep.
He's he doesn't have much other family.
Yep.
So he probably has his mom maybe, and that's it.
We don't even know if he has a mom.
We don't. Like, it's kind of interesting. They
skim over the girls completely, which is like, I'm not saying it's like, oh, that's against lady. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the girls needed more of a setup. Yeah. I would have liked to know, like, actually that her father was dead, not a side remark and pictures. I would have liked to know a little bit more about the Shivers girl and why her dad completely ignores Helen in the middle of the movie. She goes, Dad, I'm home. Completely ignores her. Doesn't even care. And I'm like, wouldn't you acknowledge or be like, hey, or like, even like if you don't like your kid, like, whatever.
I think the idea, and it's a bad one.
Yeah.
But I think the idea for that was to make it so he was super oblivious. So he was oblivious to the fact that the guy walks into the house.
I mean,
right next
sure, but I don't know. There's just little things, very little plot holes that I'm like, you guys could have.
Now that you mention it, there is like almost a element to this movie where of ignorance. Like, there's a huge element of like the adults being ignorant to the problems.
Even the whole thing where Helen is screaming, watching something happening to Barry during the show. If a girl reacted like anything like that, the whole audience would like, what's happening? What's going on? They would focus on that. Why are they just looking at her like she's a dumb teenager?
But these are the things. It's like, all right, so the dad ignores her when she comes in the house.
The cop completely ignores her.
Cop.
The audience ignores her.
Treats her as if she's fucking a child. To the point where she actually is like calling him out on it.
Yeah, she fucking calls him out hard.
Barry's mom doesn't pay attention to him.
Nope.
The guy at the gym.
No, it's just you and me, buddy.
Yeah, it's just you and me. Yeah.
Whatever. Like, why are they all acting like this is the fucking Footloose town?
It's interesting. It's
what I observed, and I was like, what is everybody's even how belligerently angry and fucking enraged Barry is, nobody's batting an eye.
No, nobody.
He's treating the girls like shit out in the middle of public, and it's like, okay.
It's an interesting element, and I wonder what the intention was there.
I honestly, I don't know if it was just dudes were written that way. Even a little bit of Ray's character aggravates me. His first thing is like, hey, Julie, what about us? And she's like, there is no us. Why do you have to jump to that?
Yeah.
Like, immediately I was like, this movie annoys me. Still a good movie.
Maybe a lot of these problems came from the fact that the movie was shot in only 50 days.
It was shot and edited
like very
quickly. Very, very quickly. From what I saw, they didn't even have a lot of post stuff to do.
No.
The only post problem they had was there was a continuity error between Julie having the sweater on at the end and having it off. They had to go back and post and record her taking it off and putting it over a door to add the fact that, oh no, she did take the sweater off, but you won't fully tell us that her dad is fucking dead? You'll tell us there's a problem with a sweater, but not a whole fucking character or a whole plot is missing. What the hell, guys? Good on you for fixing the continuity error? I don't even know if that's right.
I don't know. All right. Where'd we leave off?
So Barry believes that that Max has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Which is Johnny Galecki's character. So Barry goes and threatens Max to the face, and he takes the fishing hook. There's a lot of foreshadowing here. And literally smacks him in the face with it, cutting his face and threatening the kid.
Yeah.
Threatens him to like
I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah. And I'm like, Barry, you need some fucking mental help. There is no reason for you to be this angry at the world.
No.
And there's a flip switch on him that pisses me off that I absolutely can't stand with that man, but that's later. So at that point, I have a joke. After Max gets threatened, and we go back, we see them, meet Ray again, and Ray's talking to them, and there's a whole scene of all of them reconnecting and being like, how could somebody know? Who would know? Somebody's just fucking with us, blah, 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 the whole thing. We see this man in a slicker, the killer, kills Max. Brutal, by the way.
That's something I want to know, is the fact that, like, some of the kills throughout this movie are brutal kills.
This one?
There's not a lot of gore, but they're impactful.
This one was, and I'm calling them out on this one. Not the kill, not the actual killing, the kill. So the killing is, he gets a hook through right here, and then it goes into the crabs. And that's how he's killed.
Yeah.
My problem is, why did he kill Max?
Well, by that same logic, why did he kill Ilsa later on? Like,
I believe he killed Ilsa because Ilsa was in his way to get Helen.
Yeah.
That's why I think. But my thing is, a lot of people have said before, and I've seen it said, oh, well, Max was there. Not really. Max wasn't actually there. He just passed by.
Yeah.
He tried to be like, what's going on? What's happening? Oh, he's just sick. Even Ray, Freddie Prinze Jr. character, he does not sell me on that part too. He's like, oh, keep going, Max. Thanks. Have a good night.
He's very obvious.
Very, very obvious. Like, dude, and they might have done that for...
I think that was intentional.
I think that might have been intentional, but I still hated it. Because I'm like, why? This scene just seems so... There's three people acting on a different level from you, Freddie. All three of them are on a different plane, and you're just down here going, thanks for coming. Like, I don't have a problem with Freddie. I just don't like him in this role.
No.
But Max, I believe, is the wrong type of collateral damage. Max shouldn't have been killed.
They were up in the body count. There's really no other excuse.
Yeah, that makes sense. But sometimes, even with Friday the 13th, the body count made sense. There was a reason for all the body count.
Yeah.
This one, other than
get
threatening,
the hook from this scene.
Yes, other than Julie having something for Julie to find, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's impactful, but was Max's death necessary?
No, of course not.
No.
Something I do, because we're getting into this now, something
Yeah.
I really do like about the dynamic of this film is I love the fact that for like the first half of the movie, you're essentially, this guy is slowly fucking with and tormenting these kids individually. And
Where
then like
they're the only ones that see it. Nobody else sees it, and it's word of mouth shit.
And then the second half is where he slowly starts picking them off.
Yes.
And I really like that tormented. It's like your sins are coming back to haunt you, and then they're going to claim you.
Yes.
Like, I really like that.
I might be sadistic, but I think he could have tortured them a little longer.
Maybe he does in the series.
Maybe he fucks with them real hard in the series. But from the plot point of the book, if the series follows the book more, it's justified.
Yeah.
This one, we'll get into it at the end. So after all of this, we see Barry working out at the gym. We got to get the Ryan Phillippe's hot, fit body half naked in a shower for you ladies to get you hot and bothered. Personally, he does nothing for me at all. I got more jollies off of seeing Johnny Galecki in the movie in a 90s, like that hoodie thing, that weird, colorful twill kind of fucking sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's hot. And driving a truck, no doubt. That was weird, too. So you see that Ryan Phillippe's working out. He's out of the gym, and he gets a Polaroid of his car. That when he turns it around, just as I know. I think Polaroids... I think you can build a whole horror movie out of just fucking Polaroids.
They've done it.
It's terrifying. Memento is built basically Polaroids, right?
Not a horror movie.
Not a horror movie, but they use it. I think this is an underrated piece of equipment. Yeah, I'm pulling it out because, I love this thing. This is an underrated piece of equipment. You don't have dates on it. It's something that there's not a negative save. That's all you've got. And you can burn the evidence afterwards. It's not like a digital camera where there's always extras. I have how many copies of my photography stuff? Tons. Terabytes worth of copies of photography stuff. One Polaroid, one mistake. Oh, I think it's terrifying. And I would love to see more horror movies that are just like Polaroid camera based or torture. I don't know. It's just something that
There have been a couple recently that have tried to utilize the nostalgia factor and do there's a movie called Polaroid that came out not that long ago.
Ooh.
Not great.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But people try to do it. Nobody's done it well.
So after he finds the Polaroid, he comes out of the gym going and asks the owner or the dude behind the gym, is it just me? Yeah, it's just you and me, buddy. And he's like, what's going on? What's happening? And he hears his car start. And he goes out there and he runs after the dude, and the dude's backing out of his car. And then the car runs his ass down and runs him through what looks like a wall.
It's like a billboard kind of thing.
And just runs him down and leaves him there.
Yeah.
That was a perfect opportunity for one hell of a kill.
Yeah, but that's the point.
Just
the
to
point
torture
of these
him.
scenes is to torment these kids. He wants to scare the shit out of them and then kill them later.
Now, after this scene, he totally becomes sweet on fucking Helen again. He gets very protective, very sweet, and he gets very protective of both girls.
I like that element. I like that the feelings didn't completely go away. They're still there.
Yeah, this near-death experience has me terrified. It annoys me. I don't know why it annoys me, but I'm like, you had this screaming, jerky asshole that just changed everything a year ago, and 1 year later, getting run down, he changed his mind completely?
I don't think he did. I think it's just the reconnecting during this situation is kind of brought up some old feelings back.
Oh, maybe I'm an asshole, but I'm like, ugh, I didn't like it. I didn't. I think that Barry got what he deserved. Because if that dude wasn't dead and could hear everything, I believe running him down and throwing him through a billboard, much deserved justice. Just for me. So at this point, the girls are afterwards, they're at the hospital room. Like, I'm having a hard time step-by-stepping this because I was researching more facts and stuff.
Yeah, the rest of this starts to, like, everybody essentially gets their moment. So, like, Helen goes home. This is that scene where Dad ignores her.
Yep.
The fisherman sneaks into her house.
Is hiding in the closet all night.
And I thought this was a nice touch because I never noticed it until this viewing. But, like, she has that moment where her sister comes in and she's, like, goes to brush her hair. And her sister's like, you and your hair. So pathetic.
Yep.
And then the guy cuts her fucking hair off when she's sleeping.
Yep.
That I never put that together before.
I didn't either, but you can tell from the narcissistic way she views herself that was a definite, like, low point. The other thing that annoys me, and this is like it annoys me because I can tell, as a wig. That is such a wig.
Oh, yeah.
It is such a bad wig, too, that after it's cut and everything, and she has, like, her normal hair, she looks better.
Yeah.
I hate that long-haired blonde wig on Sarah, even though her hair is blonde. But I also know what era of Buffy this is, and I'm like, that's a bad wig, guys.
Well, I also really, I think it works, like, not the wig, but, like, the idea that, of cutting off her hair.
Yeah.
That, especially while you're sleeping, like, that's, you gotta think of how violating that must feel.
How intimately, like
this guy was in my room while I slept.
Inches from my face. And she's only wearing a t-shirt, like a button-up shirt while she's sleeping.
Yeah.
Like, that right there, I see why her personality took a 180.
Yeah.
Sorry, my screen's fucking up. And then there's the scene where, prior to this, actually, the girls make a visit to David Egan's sister because Julie figures out they killed David Egan because they found a body 3 weeks later. It was his. So they visit her to get more information because they think it's David Egan.
Yeah.
But this scene's a little weird because it's two girls going, oh, our car broke down. We need to call AAA. It's a very telling of the times thing. Like, there wasn't really cell phones back then. It was 97.
Yeah, they gotta stop and use
Yeah,
their
you gotta
phone.
stop and use a phone. And they're asking the strangest questions to this poor girl who lost her brother a year prior.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this girl isn't sitting there going, what are you guys getting at? Like, what? I don't understand where, like, even if they're just trying to, like, reminisce and ask questions, even the delivery of some of it is just odd. I think it could be chalked down to the girls being terrified and nervous about everything that's happening to them.
Right.
But still, it's very awkward. And it's like...
It is. And they try to do a lot with red herrings in this movie. Like, they try to set up a lot of the people
like
as,
a deflect thing.
Potential bad guys. And one of them is David Egan's sister here. The fucking house that they visit, it basically looks
like something out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I was just gonna say that. Like,
yep.
It looks just like it's straight out of Texas Chainsaw.
She's in like an apron. She looks dirty. She's tiny, skinny. She looks weird. And I'm just like, because they even know, oh, he lives in the sticks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I see where you're going, but I'm just awkwardly confused.
But this scene is also where you learn the name Billy Blue.
Yep.
She mentions that somebody came to visit her not long after her brother died and said his name was Billy Blue, and he was asking about him and said he was a friend of his. And you start there's a whole nother, like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, we learn later who this guy is.
Yes. So that was one of the scenes that we missed, but after Helen gets her hair cut off, she calls Julie, and Julie's rushing over. While Julie's driving, she hears a lot of noise, and her cat is throwing herself against the door. We hear a lot of noise in the trunk, like scraping and scratching. Julie stops, opens the trunk, and there is a shit ton of crabs and Max's body. And it's a scene that I'm like, oh, that right there
That's
is
probably the
fucking
most
traumatizing.
It's probably the most gruesome part of the movie.
It is, and it brings about the most iconic 90s horror line ever.
Yeah. So Julie finds the body. She runs literally to Helen's house.
Grabs them.
Grabs her and Barry. They all go back to the car.
Open the trunk. Nothing's there and it's clean.
Body's gone. No evidence that it was ever there.
No, nothing.
And this is the big moment of this movie. Everybody remembers it from the trailers and God knows what else. What are you waiting for?
Yep. It's been spoofed. It's been done hundreds of times. But it's still very impactful. Quiet little Julie just fucking losing her mind. What are you waiting for? Everyone knows this from the 90s. It's huge. Huge. And there are some times where any scenario in life where you're doing something stupid or something, and I've looked at somebody and been like, what are you waiting for? People are like, really? Let's see. I have a comment that I have here. It's why are all of these people such assholes?
So, all right, this kind of goes into something I was saving to talk about, but I'll do it now. There's something I really, really like about this movie. It's like my favorite thing about this movie. It's the fact that it's a perfect representation of what this type of extreme situation can do to even the closest friendships. So, like, you essentially view almost everybody in this movie as an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, but when you take into account, like how a lie like this can tear you apart from within and cause so much conflict with everyone around you.
Yeah.
Like, you're watching, like, just seeing how much they change from the very first time you see them to the moment you meet them again after the year gap. You see how much this fucking one event destroyed all of them.
Yep.
Barry lost everything. He didn't become a football star. He's basically just a fucking alcoholic who works out every night to fucking make himself feel better.
Yep.
Helen didn't become an actress. She failed at everything she ever set out to be and
is belittled by her sister.
Belittled by her sister and is forced to work under her at a fucking like a general
at her
department
parents'
store.
department store, nonetheless.
Julie went to college but is failing everything and is like on the verge of losing it all. Ray never got out of town. He's just a local fisherman, just like his father.
Yep.
And I can easily see why each and every one of these people is a miserable fuck.
I mean, even the townsfolk. Everybody is an asshole in this movie.
Well, I feel like
Everyone.
that plays into the element we were talking about, like that element of ignorance that's throughout everything. Like, they all feel like there's nothing going on. But, like, you're meant to view this through these characters' eyes they all feel so isolated because they're living with something they can't ever talk to anybody about.
I wish there was more. I wish that there was more towards like the audience feeling sympathy for these kids. I don't.
So do I.
I feel nothing for these kids.
But I think they were hoping you would. I think they could have done way more to sell it, but I feel like they were hoping it would be there. And I really like that element. Like, I think it's really cool to see that, like, they're all broken down by this. They're haunted by it every day, and now it's literally in their face haunting them.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything about it. I don't know. I really like it. I like that element a lot.
So we're getting close to the end of the story. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of notes about what happens to Barry and what happens to Helen. I believe what happens to Barry is justified. Barry did a lot of verbal damage after they hit the killer. Barry did a lot to destroy the bonds that he had with his three friends in that moment. He did a lot to make himself a villain.
Yes. We don't... Before we actually get to their, like, untimely demises, there's the moment where they all kind of divide off. Julie goes back to see the sister.
Yeah.
I don't know where Ray goes, but Ray goes to work.
Ray goes to work, and then Helen is in the Croker parade. Yeah.
She's in the parade. Barry's with her to keep her safe. I always kind of hated that scene because they're riding the parade float. They're basically looking for the fisherman while they're doing it. And she points out this guy. Barry runs after him. It's not him. But then they cut back to Helen, and she's looking around, seeing all these people in the slickers. And they're doing this thing where it's like, oh my god, is that the guy? And then they turn around, and it's just some dude.
Yeah.
Every time I see this, even back when I watched this as a kid, I never felt right about this.
Yeah.
And like when I watch it now, it's like, you don't know who this guy is.
Yeah.
Like that dude who turned around with the glasses on, the like standard suburban dad, it could have been him.
That mom with the fucking brunette ponytail, it could be her. Like, it could be anybody.
They make like a big show of it not being the guy. And it's like, how do you know? You don't.
You should be terrified that even your own father could be the killer. Like, really.
Yeah.
But what I will say about, like, that whole scenario drives me crazy. What really drives me crazy is I believe Barry's death is not enough, and Helen's is too much. Helen, while saying we'll dump his body and agreeing, okay, I can see why she gets killed. Barry is killed on the top, swift, done. He's killed in the balcony, very done, quick. Helen is chased down from the theater into, like, she's in the theater, she sees that, then she gets in the cop car, then she goes from the cop car, breaking out of it, running into her sister's thing. It was like they wanted to watch this girl get tortured. I don't think her death should have been that. She didn't deserve that gruesome of a demise.
Hers is more prolonged.
It is, where I think the one who did the more damage, Barry, should have been in Helen's scenario, and Helen should have had the quicker death.
That would have made sense, I think.
It would have, because to me it was like, yeah, okay, killing Helen for wanting to dump your body is justified. But you literally tortured her, you killed her sister, you've ruined that whole family's life now.
Yeah.
Like, you've killed, like, no, I do not see it. And she was right there. Helen was right there. She could have ran out into the middle of that if she didn't stop. She was so close. And it aggravates me every time I see this. Helen could have just kept running, but she stopped.
You want another movie mistake that we completely glazed over?
Yes.
So right after the what are you waiting for scene, when they meet back up with Ray, they're walking up to Ray and Barry punches him.
Yes.
And he's like, you're gonna die. He punches him with his cast. His hand is in a cast in that scene, and he punches him with that hand. I watched it this time. I was like, "Are you? That would have hurt you so bad to do that."
I didn't even notice that.
It happens very quickly, but he literally just goes, "Wow!" and hits him with his cast hand.
Jesus. There's so many tiny little
mentioning.
punch hole problems with this movie.
Yeah.
I never agree with Helen's death, but she had to die. Sorry.
Yes.
Plot point. She had to die. So we get to the point where now Julie's going to talk to Ray, or I don't know how it goes from Helen's death in the alley to that. I wasn't paying attention to that point, so you probably have to help me with that point.
Helen's death to what?
Helen's death to Julie realizing who he is.
So Julie realizes who that when she goes to see the sister the second time.
Yep.
That they didn't kill David Egan, that they hit somebody else.
Yep. Because she says, "Oh, well, I'm sorry, we hit him. I saw Susie's tattoo." She's like, "He never had a tattoo for Susie's name."
Yeah.
But they did show that Julie saw a tattoo on the guy's arm.
Yeah.
So she had a clue to identify the body.
Right.
But did not have any solid identification for him.
Yeah.
That was the moment where she realized we didn't kill David.
So, like, we see Helen's whole death. We come back to Julie, and
she's going to find Ray.
I don't think she was heading to... No, she was heading to find Helen, but couldn't find her because she was at the end of the parade route.
Oh, that's right. She was at the end of the parade route. She showed up at the Croker stage.
Yeah, and she saw, like, Ray's boat where he was, and she's like, "Oh, I'll go see him."
Yeah. Went
over to see him. Tells Ray about that they didn't kill David Egan. It was somebody else. And Ray tries to convince her to come out of the boat and talk to him, and she realizes that his boat is named Billy Blue.
Okay.
And immediately thinks,
she's like, "Oh my God, you're it.
You're the guy. You're the fisherman. You're the one.
You're the one
to
torturing and killing everybody."
Ray tries to chase her and, like, talk to her.
She runs into another fisherman.
Well, Ray gets fucking clotheslined, like WWF style clotheslined.
Damn.
By this mysterious guy.
He's like, "Get on the boat, you'll be safe." So she gets on the boat.
And she realizes that the boat belongs...
Well, she walks into a room that has photos of them from the day prior. What are you waiting for? Or earlier that day.
Yep.
How do you get the photos developed that fast in the 90s? It usually doesn't take that quick.
Don't worry about it.
Plot hole. But
there's newspaper articles about
everywhere.
them.
And then there's pictures of a blonde girl and all of this. And then you see the necklace that David was spinning.
At the very beginning.
Which is the fucking necklace that's by the fence in the beginning, but you don't notice that because they don't directly go, "Hey, plot device. That's where you put the connection together, and, like, you're supposed to know, oh my God, no, they didn't. Oh, well, they killed him. Oh, they didn't, because how would you have that if you realize it wasn't David? David was holding that. If it really was David, that should be at the bottom of the ocean if he accidentally drowned."
Exactly.
So then you get the realization that Ben Willis, Susie Willis's father, because David Egan was engaged to Susie. Susie died in a car crash. David walked away from that car crash. Ben Willis was pissed, killed David Egan the same night that the kids hit him.
Yes.
So either way, the kids wouldn't have had a problem.
You can actually assume that Ben Willis killed David Egan and was hit leaving that scene.
Leaving the scene of the crime because he was covered head to toe. Why would you need to be covered head to toe in the middle of the night? And my other thing is, he was covered in a lot of blood. A lot.
Maybe
it could be for the car crash. Could have been David's. So either way, if these kids just called the cops, they might have actually been accessories to solving a murder that this man just committed.
Yes.
Because when Julie sees the suicide note that his sister Melissa showed her, like, "Oh, this is a suicide note," she goes, "No, it's not. The handwriting matches the note she got. This is a warning. This is a threat." She's like, "No, it's not. It's a suicide note." She's like, "No, it's not." That's when she puts two and two together. So then, we see the scene where, he says, David, or Ben, there's too many names, guys. Ben says something to Julie along the lines of, teenagers hitting people in the middle of the night. And that's when she goes, "Fuck, I'm dead." Basically, and just tries to run for her life.
Yeah, and this starts the big ending climax chase thing on the boat.
One of the most fucking hair-raising, proofs that your friends are dead. She's hiding in the ice bottom, trying to get away from this man, pulling ice, trying to hide, and she finds both Helen and Barry's body Side note, fun fact, that is not ice, that is gelatin. I always, since I was a kid, was like, oh my God, that's got to be freezing for this poor girl. Oh my God, she must hate it. Side note, it's gelatin.
I never thought it looked like real ice.
I thought it was just like really cool ice, and then I'm like, oh, like that really like gelatin substance. Like when you have the fake soy wax candle stuff, the clear shit. Oh, Max, that makes sense. But that scene traumatized me. I was like, oh my God, like finding your best friend in just a thing of ice, because he doesn't want people to find the bodies, and you got to keep them fresh. Why not? You got to torture the other two. Why not put the bodies in,
I think this big finale, it's your standard slasher film ending where it's like the killer chases the victim, she stumbles upon all the bodies, and then like you also add the element of Ray is trying to catch the boat. And
I have two problems with this whole thing. One, okay, I have a note. It's the middle of the summer. Jump in the fucking water and swim away, you bitch. Two, that was a little too amazing to believe he drove the boat really fast and the flare gun just happened to perfectly flip out of your hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that is absolutely fucking terrible. But the payoff is the ending scene is he's caught Julie, he's going to get her, his hand gets caught, and his hand now gets ripped off. Like his whole hand with the
hook.
The hook is gone. Which is like, so that's how the hook man lost his hand. That's always how I thought of that scene, which was really kind of cool.
It's definitely intentional.
Yes.
Yeah, but the big caveat to this is that like the police get them off the boat and they're dragging the water, and they pull up the nets and see the hook hand hanging from the net.
But they can't find the body.
Which,
I don't know if they left it open for sequels or not for a purpose. I think they did it more for the effect rather than the sequels. But it left it open for sequels.
Well, that was a big element back then, and still is now, really. Like, you always kind of want to end off your horror movie with an element that the threat isn't really gone.
It's a looming threat. It's a permanent looming threat.
You want that fear to still linger.
And we finally get, like, everything's all set. It's resolved. Like, Julie even says to Ray, so we went through a year of hell for nothing.
Yeah.
So it very much, that's a pretty cool line and a pretty cool scene. I hate the way this movie ends. I hate it. I've always hated it. The movie ends when it blacks out with Ray and Julie holding each other on the boat, on the deck for me. That's it. That's when this movie really ends.
I'm going to disagree. I like this ending.
Oh.
For a couple of reasons.
Okay.
So, this ending, for me, I like how it's handled in the sequel. Like, because it follows up this ending as a dream, but I always kind of wished it was real. That kind of like, it's the only real way they could continue it with Julie still being in it. I like this ending because, alright, you get the element of, it's, another year later?
A year later, I made the Dean's List. She looks good. She's happy.
She's doing better. She looks great. She's happy, bubbly. Her and Ray are doing great, even long distance. She's finally got the life she wanted. But then she gets off the phone. She comes out of that shower room, and you see the note or the letter, and you get that element of, oh my God, it's like, and the fact that she immediately thinks that is that it's still there. Like that feeling, that haunted feeling is still in there.
Yeah.
And it took a trigger to bring it back. She opens it and it's like an invitation to a pool party or something stupid. And she's like, oh, thank God. She goes back into the shower and it's filled with fog because she turned on shower. But
And John Carpenter turned on the fog machine.
It's filled with fog, and she walks in and sees that on the shower door is
I still
know. The thing that makes me love this moment so much is that she sees that, and she looks around, and nobody's there, and the music builds, and then you hear the fucking necklace. You hear that ting spinning.
I didn't hear that.
And that sound, because you've heard it throughout the movie, right at the beginning, you heard it when Ben shows it to you at the end. You hear that sound, and you know that
Ben's back.
Ben is still alive. And she turns around, and he fucking jumps through the shower stall and gets her. I fucking love that final moment. Hearing that sound, oh.
I didn't hear the ting, but I hate it.
It gets me every time, and I love it.
I don't think it's necessary. The fact that they can't find his body. All you find is the hook hand. Solid proof enough that he's not gone.
Yeah.
To me, that is the lingering threat. You don't need to drive it home with a shower scene.
No, but it's the tension of that moment with that sound. That is why I think it's really good.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to disagree.
Sound design, they win this one for me. I think we're about at the closing questions here.
Yep.
Overall thoughts on the film?
I don't like this movie. I don't. While it's a good movie and I love it for the nostalgia factor, I don't like it for how many plot holes there are for it. It's got a good plot. It's written nicely. There's a reason why this is so popular. There's a reason why this is a great film. I personally don't like it. Some of the acting is terrible. I don't think it's great on how many holes there are. There should have been more explanation of certain things. Not even long explanations, just a couple more lines or just a few more seconds of a scene. They focus too much on like Helen's death. Helen's death is so long. That whole chase, it's too much. To where, yeah, it's a great scene, but I don't think it's that necessary for her death to go on that long. I think they shafted the girls' stories. I think they put them through too much trauma, and I think the boys needed to be put through as equally as much trauma as they were.
Okay. I love this movie. I always have. That's opinion's not really gonna change.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with this. It's always gonna be something that's close to near and dear to my heart, kind of thing. Not my favorite film of all time or anything like that, but it's definitely one of my favorites from the 90s.
Yeah.
I do agree that, like, you're right. The girls suffered way more than the guys, and I'm not entirely sure why. Honestly, I think it was just playing into the fact that girls in horror movies tend to be the ones that you want to stick with more, so they stuck with them longer than they stuck with the guys. Yeah, I like the movie. Bad acting and all, I like it. I always will. It's nostalgic. Do you have any favorites?
I don't have anything that jumps out to me. No lines that jump out to me, obviously. What are you waiting for? That's the one line that jumps out for everybody in this movie. I've always liked to see kind of the insanity train of like Helen just losing it throughout the whole film. Kind of because I really like Sarah Michelle Gellar. I always have. She's one of my favorite actresses from the 90s. For as much Buffy as I've watched, you watch that character and how much Sarah's acting is just incredible. And there are some episodes of that show that are gorgeous. And you can see that she's going to become an amazing actress over time. I like watching Helen spiral from this I'm popular, I'm great, I'm wonderful. I just said everything completely wrong. I'm perfect, I'm popular, I'm great. And you just watch her spiral until the bitter end.
I think she definitely portrays it better than everybody else.
Yeah. Like, that's my favorite, is just watching her just lose it. What about you?
I think my favorite scene is always going to be the hit and run. That's the moment everything changes for everybody.
The break.
That's the big iconic scene of this movie. I love everything about it. Couple lines do stand out to me, and I like them. One, just because it's purely funny when you hear it off the cuff, is so where did he go? Did the crabs carry him away?
Oh, God.
That was fun. And the other one is like that during that big Ben Willis reveal, is the kid's like, you should be having fun, drinking, partying, running people over, getting away with murder.
Yeah.
Things like that.
That one, that's like, ooh.
I like that. That's really about it. This isn't one that's like well known for like its dialogue.
Yeah.
It's not like Scream. Like, it's well written, but it's not like, there's not memorable ones.
It's going to be hard to pick favorites with Scream. I've seen Scream twice. Once years ago, and you made me sit down and actually watch all the Screams. That thing is littered with, what's your favorite?
Ooh.
Let me start with number 1.
Does this work for you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I loved it as a teenager, but I also think that I've got a little bit more of watching and understanding movies under my belt now, and this one doesn't work. I think that it's written very well. I wish that it was acted a little better by certain people. Not saying that one sucked more than the other, or one was better more than the other, but when you've got strong actors and actresses, and then you've got some that are a little weaker, it just wasn't fleshed out enough, in my opinion. Do you need me to hold?
No.
Okay. It just wasn't fleshed out enough, in my opinion, and I just wish it was a little bit more elevated. Not better, because it's good. It just needed to be more elevated. I wish that they fleshed out some points a little more. I wish some things were looked at better. It seems rushed, and knowing that it only took 50-something days to do everything, it is rushed. This had to get out quick. It should have been done better. And for how beloved and how much money it made, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm an asshole in this scenario. Maybe people are going to look at me and be like, you fucking suck. How can you have this opinion? It's just my opinion. I don't think this movie works.
So I guess you wouldn't recommend it.
Honestly, I've never recommended this movie. I always say, if you want a movie to get drunk to and pick apart.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. This works for me on a nostalgic level. It works for me on a 90s slasher level. Because most of those weren't well thought out or put together. I don't really recommend it to people unless you're of the same mindset as I am, or if you grew up in the 90s, yeah, watch it. It's one of those very specific things. Like, I'll recommend it, sure. Like, this, it's fun to watch. It's not the greatest movie ever, and I'll tell anybody that I recommend it to that, but it's fun. If you can just accept it for what it is, it's a good
Don't
watch.
think like me and watch it.
Don't be analytical.
Don't pick it apart, but that's what we're doing here. We're picking
Yes.
apart movies.
And how would you make this today?
I don't think I would.
No?
No. To me, like, because I grew up in the 90s and I've watched horror and slashers evolve, there's better. There's better ways to tell this story. It's an iconic story. It's an iconic movie from the 90s. I'm not going to shit on it in that sense. But I will say, there's better out there. Watch Scream. It's a better movie.
I probably would do it today, but the way I would do it has already recently been done.
Stay true to the book.
Stay true to the book, and do it as a limited series, and they just did that.
We
so.
definitely like limited series here.
I like limited series because it gives you a chance to explore character more.
It fleshes things out, which some movies, I would say 50% of the movies that I see up there could do with more fleshing out.
That, and I feel like if you're going to remake something, that should be your intention, is to flesh out what's already there. Expand it.
Touch upon and then go.
Why just do the same thing again?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, limited series I think is the perfect format for redoing something.
Yes.
And this had its chance. I can't wait to see what they did with it.
The best example I can say is recently I watched A Haunting. Catherine Zeta-Jones, Luke Wilson.
The Haunting.
Right? The Haunting. I'm sorry, The Haunting.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yes.
All right.
And then last year, or the year before that, I watched A Haunting of Hill House. That is an example of taking a movie that very briefly touched on the original Haunting at Hill House from the 50s or 60s, I can't remember which one, and expanded upon and made it better. The Haunting of Hill House is incredible. The Haunting, fucking terrible 90s movie. No hate to anybody in that movie. Fucking terrible. I watched it. I hated it. I'm also very disappointed Luke Wilson doesn't go wow in that movie once. Wow. But that's an example of, here's the remake. You have an original, you have a remake, and then you have a limited series. The limited series, the original's great. The remake, nope. The limited series, expanding upon the world, beautiful. Beautiful. We're gonna have so many limited series in our lives.
Would you consider this to be exploitation or other?
Yes, because it's a slasher fic. It's a slasher. I think that slashers are something that if they had a chance to be a grindhouse, in the actual grindhouse, they would. There would be slasher houses to where all they did was roll these slasher flicks. This would be one of the topper bills that would be on it, but I think yes. Because it's a slasher, it is a grindhouse. Disagree with me.
I respectfully disagree.
Yes! I didn't disagree with him because of this. I really did know in my heart that we would not agree on this movie.
This is absolutely it's a slasher film, but it's not exploitation. It's not anywhere near bloody enough. There's not anywhere near enough nudity.
And the director was told to make this gorier. Fun fact, he was told there was not enough gore in this film. There is no gore in this film.
Not really.
There is somebody going, with a ketchup bottle. Yeah. That's it.
But no, this would not fall under exploitation. It could be turned into an exploitation movie if somebody wanted to, which that might be fun. But no, as it stands right now, it's just a 90s slasher. It's nothing. It's barely grindhouse worthy.
I would say that it probably would end up in a grindhouse because I think it kind of sucks that much. I'm sorry. I'm sleeping in the doghouse tonight.
I think that's going to bring our discussion on I Know What You Did Last Summer to a close. But please don't go anywhere just yet. Stay tuned for the coming attractions.
Arrest that woman!
Quaid.
Cut.
Get ready for a surprise!
We can't let him run around. He knows too much. They've got you bugged.
I got a lock. There!
And the bug's in your skull.
Take this thing out of the case and stick it up your nose. Don't worry, it's self-guiding.
Got him.
I lost him.
Welcome to Mars.
You got a lot of nerve showing your face around here.
Look who's talking.
They erased your identity and implanted a new one.
If I'm not me, who the hell am I?
He's got a hologram!
Welcome to Johnny Cab.
Drive!
Where can I take you tonight? Please fasten your seatbelt. I want Clay delivered alive for reimplantation.
That's for making me come to Mars. You wouldn't hurt me. After all, we're married.
Consider that a divorce.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
I don't know what you just watched. All I know is it might just be Terminator a different kind.
Oh no, this is quite different than Terminator.
I like True Lies.
True Lies? This will be closer to True Lies than that.
All right. Yeah, I have no idea what Total Recall is at all.
So, all right, Total Recall is it's a movie based on a book by Philip K. Dick. The movie is very different than the book.
Okay.
So this is one I grew up with. I was shown this movie very early in life by my uncle. My uncle got me into a lot of movie stuff. So
the uncle I finally met, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He was a big fan of this and all like Arnold movies and action stuff from the 80s and got me into all of it. This is one of the earliest Arnold movies that I saw. I think it was like Terminator, Conan, and then this.
Oh, Conan. Oh, God.
We're watching it at some point.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to protest the whole time.
Why are you going to protest?
Oh, man. I don't like Arnie. I hate Arnie.
Well, basically his whole filmography is in our fucking wheelhouse.
I know.
But, yes, Total Recall, it's a sci-fi action espionage thriller.
Okay.
There's a lot of comical stuff in it. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't meant to be comical that is because it's Arnold.
Yep.
So
Get to the chopper.
None of that, thankfully. I think you'll find it funny if nothing else. It's not just an Arnold movie. You also get Sharon Stone and fucking Michael Ironside.
I hear Michael Ironside, and all I think is Michael Speedman, or Scott Speedman.
I don't know how the fuck you mix them up.
I don't know why I get them mixed up, and one of them's like a '90s star, and the other one's like from Underworld. Like that, I don't know why every time.
I don't get it. Like, Michael Ironside is so different than Scott Speedman. I don't understand.
It's the same human being to me. I don't know why. I can't explain it.
But I don't know. Like, I think you're gonna enjoy this. Like, I've seen this many times, and it's when I first saw it, I think it was, oh, this is cool. This is a cool action movie. And then as I got older and realized how like 80s cheese it was, it got better for a different reason. I'm hoping you'll somewhat enjoy the experience, at least for the funniness of it.
I hate action films. I don't know why. They're just not thrilling to me.
There's gonna be a lot of them.
When you said So we've had a little bit of an Adobe problem. It's fine now, but one of the movies that we had an issue with was the Van Damme movie.
Hard Target.
Hard Target. And when he said, "Oh, we might have to record Hard Target again," I wanted to jump out that window. I was like, no, I don't want to watch this movie again. I have the notes, but my memory isn't as good, so I'd have to watch the movie again. And I'm like, I do not want to waste 2 more hours of my life on this stupid goddamn movie. So when he was like, I got it fixed, I was like, thank God I don't have to jump out a window.
Well, yeah, the episode, the Hard Target episode, it had problems. We've had a lot of problems recently with episodes. Fucking Death Wish, the entire audio file got corrupted.
Yep.
So now that one had to release with really...
With the camera audio.
Oh, with camera onboards.
And you can hear how echoey our apartment is at that point. And I was listening to him edit it, and I was like, ooh, buddy, this is going to suck a little. Sorry, kids.
I'm trying so hard to fix all these little problems, but I'm realizing how difficult it is to produce something and be in it.
Yeah.
With no additional help.
And we're trying to, because I'm not sure how to do all this stuff. Eventually, you're going to teach me how to do this. But I'm not as good at this part of it. I'm better in front of the camera talking about it or editing photos. I'm not so good with video and voice stuff, so
yeah,
he's on his own for that.
This stuff is all my wheelhouse, and it's a lot to always try and make sure you're paying attention to everything, and sometimes I just fuck up, or the camera fucks up. We'll have a memory card issue, or the audio gets corrupted afterwards, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do everything I can to upgrade our equipment to where we won't have to worry about certain things. That's one of the reasons for the live edit. The idea there is if I'm editing it as we're going, I don't have to worry about it in post.
Yeah.
Because
it's a lot to do, have both cameras simultaneously and then swap. That's what takes you the most time.
Yes, and it also, this way I won't have to edit the video as much. I can maybe cut out some dead spots, things like that. It also provides a backup of the audio because I'm recording the audio in Adobe Audition while at the same time it's recording to the live edit.
Yeah.
So we have a backup of the audio in some form.
And we're going to have to hit record on the cameras so we have a backup of the backup.
Yes. I'm going to... We didn't do it on this one. No. I probably should have, but... Maybe on the next one, I'm going to probably also hit record on the cameras so that we have a duplicate of the video in case anything happens.
Guys, it takes a lot of hard drive space. I bought him a 4 terabyte hard drive for Christmas. 5 terabyte hard drive for Christmas. I was so proud. I was like, it's going to last the year. It's May. It's May, and I'm concerned that it's almost full.
I'm constantly fighting with hard drive space, and this stuff takes a lot, especially since generally you want to shoot in higher resolution so the video looks better and it can always be exported smaller. Another plus of the live edit thing is that it live edits in 1080.
Yeah.
So it's, even though the cameras are set to 4K resolution, it's outputting 1080, so it's not going to take up as much space.
Yeah. And let me tell you, 4K takes up a lot of fucking space.
Oh my god. It kills me.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do. That's just how it is. And until there's a way to record 4K and it doesn't take up as big of files, the files aren't as big, then...
I'm very glad I'm into I'm into photography, because I've had the same 4 terabyte and it's not even 10% full.
She gets the easy way out.
Suck it. On that note,
we bring this video to an end. If you want to chat with us, if you want to give us some movie recommendations, coffee recommendations, if you want to check out our film collection, see some behind the scenes stuff, You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Grindhouse Podcast. If you'd like to chat with Leah a little bit, you can find her on our Discord, also at Grindhouse Podcast. We are on Twitter at GrindhouseCast.
Come on, baby. Maybe we should just do one today.
All this stuff with the live edit has me fucked up beyond
flustered.
belief. I'm trying to keep so much in my head. Listen to us, give us 5-star ratings on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your morning fix. New episodes come out first thing every Monday morning. If you're listening to the podcast and you'd like a more visual experience, if you want to see how badly I fucked up this live edit, you can check us out, subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can get every single episode in its entirety with video. If you want to show this show some support, you can find all that information down in the show notes. Until next week, I'm Shawn.
And I'm Leah, waiting for him to press the button so you can see me.
Thank you for listening, and keep watching.
Bye!
The shocking nature of many scenes in this film, it is definitely not recommended for the squeamish.